Championships aren't won on the final shot alone. It all starts with the commitment to stay healthy and on the field for your team. Q-Collar, essential brain protection so athletes can chase greatness.
One of the dynamics of this class will be more urgency around landing top-end midfield recruits, because while it's incredibly deep and rich at attack and goalie, those high-end midfielders aren't in as much of long supply as they were for the class of 26. Dan, who's at the top of the group?
Yeah, so I think one of the ways that you have to really differentiate things is like short stick D mids to two-way guys to your classic O mids. But right at the top of my list is a guy that like I struggle to put into a two-way versus O mid versus D mid role, and I think he's just kind of a classic throwback, and that's Brandon Fodor from BBL, Del Barton. And again, when it comes to his game, it's like there's nothing on the field that he can't get done, whether it's initiating an offense, catching it on the backside and scoring, step down shooting, on the run shooting, playing defense, wings. Like, put it to you guys this way: in any situation coming out of a timeout, come crunch time, come winning time, whether you're on offense or defense, or you're coming out and you have to face off, Fodor's on the field, and if you can put the ball on his stick to start it, you're gonna, and if you can put him on the ball potentially on the other end, you might do it. And so from his ability to just like impact the game in a variety of ways, I see him right at the top of the list. And then a guy that I think does everything that I just mentioned as well, and a left-handed Canadian version, is Aiden Matthews out of Lawrenceville. So again, in very similar skill sets in terms of their versatility. And so if we were to narrow it down and you were to ask me like strictly offensive midfielder 6-on-6, like I think that leaves a little bit more room for interpretation. But for me, the top of the class starts with two guys that get it done in a variety of ways.
I feel like we can make this whole video about Brandon Fodor. That's how great he is. I'm really excited to see where he ends up. He's got a brother, John, when we get to the defense as well on that BBL Del Barton teams. His go-to move, it seems like sometimes letting the guy just run past him, uses shiftiness. I almost thought he was a football player. Turns out he plays soccer. He's super athletic, and the ability to just let these high blasts go on the run with both hands, he's a very intriguing prospect.
Kevin, one guy that I know you're familiar with that I find to be the most interesting midfielder at the top of this class is Anthony Asaro out of Garden City. Got a later start to the summer as a result of making a state championship run with Garden City, and I can't recall the last high school recruit who played with as much physicality as Asaro. I mean, the term bull in a china shop doesn't even do it justice. It's the combination of how much he seeks it out plus how big and strong he is. He literally looks like Anthony Kelly playing with a bunch of rising juniors. It's remarkable. And I'm very curious how that's going to manifest in his recruiting, because I've said earlier in some of these videos that I think there's more and more value in college coaches knowing exactly what you're going to contribute when you get on campus, meaning that if you have one skill that rises above all of your other skills, it's easier to project you. I don't think Asaro falls in that category, and as a result, I'm curious to see what that means.
I actually think I do. I think he's like out of the box initiator, run by someone, make a really good decision, and like you aren't going to be tasked with filling it up and doing a ton unless, defenses aren't sliding, which in that case, I think he's quite capable of like getting to the middle of the field and can stroke it. So I think from that ability, it's like he enters as a really physical dodger that can, win a matchup and create offense out of it.
He is a moose. Like, there's no mistaking, he is a football player who can absolutely win his matchup on the lacrosse field coming out of the box. And to your point, that was when I evaluated him at NAL down at D Turf. I want to see him shoot more. In so many words, it's a refreshing change of pace in the turf circuit where you're getting the ball through X. What? Like it's incredible to see him make good reads because he knows he's going to garner so much defensive attention.
A midfielder I really like is Matt Suter, Lawrenceville. Canadian who's got he's got this Canadian slickness, but it's like the slickness combined with kind of like a grit, middle of the field play, some athleticism. That it's just a really good combination. And the midfield high end talent maybe isn't what the attack is. It surely isn't what the attack is this year. But there's just a lot of guys with motors who are going to give you a lot of good minutes. And Suter's one of those guys that, he can go out there and do everything. He's going to do it with hustle. He's going to do it with speed. And this just level of Canadian slickness that you've really got to love.
I'll put it to you guys this way. So both Aiden Matthews and Matt Suter, we touched on, Lawrenceville guys that, like we said, get it done in a variety of ways. Both Canadians that are also on the EMO, but technically, when you watch them, come across as their short stick teammates. Mm-hmm. So their ability to do quite literally everything kind of manifests in just the fact that they take wings, play defense, and are also on EMO.
Yeah. The first time I evaluated or looked at Suter, I'm fairly confident my first note was that he's a short stick defensive midfielder, which obviously is not the full story by any means.
Right. Tell us about Finn Kilborn and John Lynch.
I think Kilborn, again, probably is another one that isn't so far off from that mold of can get it done in all facets. Again, just a phenomenal athlete, fast, strong, can get downhill, can get his own, but also plays with an edge and can really strap you up defensively. And then of all of the guys that we've mentioned so far, John Lynch is probably the most skilled, right? So if it comes to just offensive 6-on-6 ability, come in and mesh within a college offense in a variety of ways, whether you're asked to, just kind of fit within it or spark it and create. I think he can do probably in a way that some of these guys would struggle in a spot that's going to ask you to play in space, or there's a spot that's going to put you in a bunch of two-man situations or things like that. And again, just trying to illustrate his skill set, he had 38 and 34 this season for Belmont Hill, so very 50-50 in his ability to either get his own and score it or draw, slide, and feed it. So just an impressive season in terms of total point numbers, but also in terms of the spread and distribution of those points.
Two guys I want to talk about. We spent a lot of time talking about the Colorado Kings, Valor Christian midfielders. James Riches, who stands out with his long hair, wearing number 88, and Carter Robichaud. Riches is really interesting. He is definitely a two-way player. Incredible motor, ton of energy. One of the things that I thought was that he was more of a kind of a utility player offensively. And then as the summer went on, I saw him make a number of really highly skilled plays that made me reconsider where his offensive ceiling is. Robichaud is a much more traditional backside midfielder who is going to dodge off the catch, beat whatever bad approach comes to him, and then if there's a second slide, he's going to throw the ball through the defense and find an easy backside finish, and if it doesn't come, he's going to shoot on the run and hammer the corner. Two guys that, going back a couple minutes in the conversation, I think have relatively clearly defined roles at the next level. Couple guys that I'm interested in anybody's opinion on because they've been on the radar for a really long time, and now we get to find out exactly where they project. Luke Cariello and Brad Mallory.
I'll talk about Brad Mallory because he's probably one of the most athletic midfielders in this class. I recently saw him, and he's so athletic that he dictates what he wants to do. He doesn't let a defender dictate, what move he's going to make. He's a battering ram when he needs to be. He'll just go and put a shoulder into somebody. Or, he kind of, in the Nilly event, had just a righty and a lefty shot on the run that he was able to use his athleticism and give his face. So I think if you're just looking for that, a guy who's going to give you, a lot of legs and a lot of, athleticism and that physical presence from the midfield, he's certainly that guy.
Cariello, in the same vein, gets it done with both hands. He has the athleticism to draw slides, get by his man. If you're not going to respect him, he'll let it fly. In the same vein, I put Barrett Malahi in prime time. He's just maybe a bigger at this stage of his development athletically. And Malahi's ability to to hit that rollback with either hand and score down the alley, and he really takes the game to his opponents.
It's a little bit cliche to say about Perriello just because, like the undersized guy that you want to say like, makes up for it with scrap and heart and hustle. But cliches exist for a reason, and that's because a lot of times the undersized guys have to be able to tap into that or have been told that so much that they just inherently do it, right? And I think he fits that mold as well, where like, yeah, some coach is going to sit down and be like, that's not the package that I was hoping for. But then ultimately everything that, is great about him, his speed, his ability to shoot it on the run, and then that heart, hustle, intensity, and like edge that he plays with will be enough to win someone over.
Let's stay in New England. Kev, you just saw Braden Belsky at Future Phenoms. What were your thoughts?
The first thought was people were telling me he's a defensive midfielder. He was playing defense for Sweetlax, Florida. Yeah, up in Newport, he was really showing off his offensive game. So his ability to get the job done on both ends will be a huge plus at the next level.
I think when it comes to someone like him, like you can just envision him right now playing really good defense and then like clearing it on his own and just keeping someone stuck, whether he like goes back and inverts or like, you put him in that spot where you're going to hang and like just like play the games. But like somebody that in those situations would just be really comfortable making a variety of plays. And again, I think it's a good problem to have if you're Braden Belsky and college coaches can't quite figure out what position you play.
I want to stay in the Sweetlax family real quick because Lee Warren is a guy I evaluated a couple times, didn't include him in the Future Phenoms post, but he's a guy who he can, all right, I'm going to give you the clear, and he can one-man show it on the other end with a lefty on the round snipe. His sweeps are super dangerous, and he's a part of a first-line midfield for Sweetlax Upstate, who is among the best clubs this summer that were really impressive with Grady Guberlet and Jacoby Sandin, who is just a physical specimen.
Three guys I want to talk about are from the Baltimore area. So Connor Cook and Ryan Viscarando, who are high school teammates at St. Paul's. And I felt like their two-man game chemistry as sophomores that they put on display. I saw it in against Bullis and came away really impressed. And then a guy that I wasn't as familiar with until the summer, played at Severn and then was on Viscarando's Hawks team, was Goger. Really hard step down shooter. I thought knew how to fill it up and made it really intimidating in terms of the heat that he was able to bring it with. Thomas Goger.
Yeah, and again, so out of Severn for high school, Annapolis Hawks for his club team, was the offensive MVP at main stage and just gets to the middle and strokes it. Like, he is somebody that right now, like if you are sitting there and you're saying like, well, maybe, there's flaws in some sort of ability for you to be able to sit on a right hand or something like that. Like, he's so athletic that he just gets to it anyways. And then secondarily, like, he already right now can like get down the alley, can take top side, can sweep it and score at like an elite level, getting to his right hand. And so I think that from that perspective of like, what can these guys do from day one at, a top tier ACC Big Ten Ivy institution, it's like step down shooting on the run, and like making teams pay that don't slide to you.
What can you tell us about Matty Schoonmaker?
Not so different, honestly. Not so different. Probably a little less explosive with the package, right? I think Miles is like, when he lines you up, squares you up, and splits you up, there's a little bit more separation off the burst and off that first step. But Schoonmaker is going to put your shoulder into him. He's heavier. He's stronger. He's probably a little more physical with his mindset. But again, getting down the alleys, and if you overplay, can roll back and just kind of hit it either way. So again, just a physical dodging downhill midfielder.
Two words that you said that made me think of Justin Bishop out of MICDS, who I saw in the spring at the event that I went to at Notre Dame and then saw a few times over the summer. Explosive and rollback. And I think he might be the most explosive dodger in the class in terms of his first step speed. And then it almost always results in a rollback that he gets separation in order to get a shot off. Back to that point about having one skill. Is his skill good enough that he's going to be able to execute it against the highest end defenses? That's the question that the college coaches are going to have to answer, because right now I don't think there's enough else to his game that if you feel like he's not going to be able to do that at the highest level, you feel good about where he's going to project. But if you feel like he can, then, and we talked about it a lot, right? Like that was one of the big conversations we had about Dylan Faison, is that like, I know that invertibility and the ability to draw across clear slide and throw to the defense, like he does that every time he gets the ball, and it works every time. Justin Bishop, wing dodge, get 2-3 steps, roll back, get a shot. Like it seems like it works every single time.
A couple guys from the natives of the West Coast that get to their left that I want to bring up. Wyatt Branish, a guy who really good sweeping across the top of a defense and let a sidearm rip fly. And Tate Starr, just a guy I've had on my radar for a few years now. Just he looks bigger every time I see him. I know he's been battling some things, but his ability to stretch in the defense and just overall ability to power it down is really impressive.
And
Let's stay on the West Coast. Brody Bowen.
yeah, so again, I feel like one of the things that for me I was particularly aware of is guys that maybe just aren't shaking free and like peppering the end lines, but guys that just consistently fill the back of the net, even if it's not the most pretty thing. And I don't know that is fair to say relative to him, but just in general, right? Like the high producers. And I think Brody is one of the guys that just felt like constantly all summer, either sweeping, getting to his right hand, again, just a downhill threat, and somebody that if defenses aren't sliding to, he's going to make you pay.
You talk about productivity, a reclass from the 26 class is Mateo Salah. Every time you watch him, he seems like he scored. He seems like something happening. He's got like a mix of like finesse and power to his dodges. That's a rare combination. He goes hard with his head up, but he can also kind of like razzle-dazzle you a little bit if he needs to. And he does find that, make that move, make that pass to the crease a lot, the reclass. And again, he's just super productive.
Yeah, I agree. And then the last one that I'll touch on here is one of my honestly favorite guys. Again, just like when it comes to 6-on-6 projection, stepping in and, impacting an offense pretty early in your career, Marco Petrelli. I think he's truly probably the best passing midfielder out of this group. You mentioned Wyatt Branish. I think he's one of the best in terms of like his overall polished skill set, ability to fill a lot of different roles as well. But I think Petrelli is like just a true feeding midfielder that again is super valuable because there aren't a ton of them in any class, particularly in this 2027 class. So amongst his peers, that alone kind of boosts him. And then again, just like of everybody on that board right there that we've been considering, if you were to rack up their total number of assists this summer, I would be willing to bet that he was, right at the top of the list.
Now we got to give the Midwest some love here. Grant Adams, another guy who projects very well in the 6-on-6. He can get the job done from the wing up top. His ability to score with various release points was really intriguing to me. He had some twisters and BTBs when I laid eyes on him. Super good athlete. He was a part of a true Illinois group that just exuded ball movement and athleticism, and he was the top of the list.